everyone, William here. I just had another great conversation with another guest. Would you like to come in and listen in on the conversation we had? By the way, feel free to share it with anyone you feel may find it of interest. Come on, let's go listen in now.
Crystal Lavigne, welcome to my studio.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in and responding to my invitation. I really appreciate you coming in and being able to have an opportunity to talk about your candidacy.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to come here and be able to talk about my candidacy.
So what prompted you to run?
Well, it's something I've always wanted to do, was run for politics, specifically mayor. And I decided that now's the time to run for mayor because as it stands, City Hall is very stagnant. We have an entire old boys club group in there, and that includes the females that are in there. For anybody who thinks I'm being sexist, I'm not. And we need to change the way politics are run in Hamilton. It's very stagnant. We have a bunch of politicians that don't want to listen to their constituents in each of their individual wards. Not the majority of them. They're not outreaching their constituents the way that they should be, and we need to get them back on board and hopefully change a bunch of faces at City Hall. Keep some old, keep some new, because it's good to have a balance, and have a good, strong leader at City Hall now.
Well, because people don't necessarily hold the title, doesn't mean that they can't be involved. I know I had one candidate who's dropped out and did express to me, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be involved just because I've dropped out of the race for mayor.
Right.
And that's important because that really speaks well of a person's character as well.
Absolutely does.
So what are some of the current issues that you're hearing from people in your community?
The first thing always is garbage. Garbage everywhere. It seems to be the biggest issue, not just in my own community, but across the board communities, as we're sick and tired of the garbage everywhere. Let's clean up our streets. Secondly, the image of Hamilton is a big one, which we all know. We're considered the armpit of the Golden Horseshoe, and we need to get that image changed. A lot of people believe that we are the welfare capital of Hamilton, that we are the disability capital, or Hamilton of Ontario, that we're the disability capital of Ontario. We need to change that image. When 77% of our population does still work, but we've been given this image that we are the poorest city, that we can't come and rise above this, we need to do something to change that. And keeping things the way they are, we're certainly not going to change that.
So what is it about the garbage? Is it because there's too much garbage, or the garbage pickup? I know that we had a scandal with the garbage collectors and whatnot, but it seems like it gets picked up on time. And, what type of garbage are you referring to? Not enough containers on the streets?
Well, there certainly isn't enough containers on the streets, but set garbage pickup aside, because I think they do a great job in my area personally. I can't comment for other people's areas. But the physical garbage on our streets, blowing around, collecting in our bushes and our trees and all over our streets, that's the type of garbage that we're referring to.
Oh, very good. So what kind of things would you do to create awareness in the area of garbage?
I'm not sure if it's an awareness creation that we need to look into at the moment. I think we need to re-look at how we're doing garbage with the actual pickup, because a lot of this garbage comes from people just dumping it. We see all the time, like in my area, we have this beautiful little walkway, and we have the big garbage bins on the walkway and stuff, and all the time people are coming and driving from I don't know where, and we see them all the time. They just start dumping their garbage bags in there, and they're gone before you can catch their license plate and stuff like that, before you get close enough, and they just come, they dump their garbage in there. Sometimes it's loose garbage and they're just dumping it in the bagfuls and emptying out, and and then of course this is blowing all over the place. We have an issue with people driving down the street still just tossing their garbage out the windows of their vehicles and stuff. Come on, this is my city too. I don't want my city, I don't want my kids growing up in garbage like that. So we need to address possibly the restrictions on our garbage pickup maybe, and maybe that would help prevent a lot of dumping. And we have a great community group now that organizes a lot of garbage cleanup in their area. Maybe if we can get this on a more steady basis, maybe if we could get the councillors in each area more involved with this, like each councillor set up a day a week and go into each part of their neighborhood for just an hour or two. It doesn't need to take very long, and work with their constituents to clean up the garbage in specific neighborhoods in their wards, and it just helps keep it cleaner and changes the image that way a little bit as well.
So being a participant.
They should be a participant in stuff like that, because then they are also getting out with people in their community, and they're able to talk with people in their community to and it's not always the same people, because you actually do get a variety of people from different age groups coming out to these things. And the more the counselor is involved, the more variety of people they can get out to reach in each neighborhood and actually hear what they have to say, instead of just sitting behind their computer screens waiting for somebody to contact them or phone call, and half the time they don't even respond back to these people. And that's one thing I'm hearing, is a lot of counselors have an issue responding back to their constituents.
Being availably unavailable.
Exactly. And that shouldn't happen. Like, you don't need to sit in your office 24 hours a day to be a counselor. You don't need to just go to big special functions to be a counselor. You should be out there with the actual real people of your community and understanding what their driving issues are and what's bugging them in their community.
Sure. Now, I noticed on one of your YouTube channels you had a whiteboard with some writing on it, and about it had a lot to do with being out of work for a lengthy period of time and whatnot.
Oh, it wasn't out of work, no.
What was it?
But I know what it feels like to not have enough money to stretch sometimes.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't matter how much money you make. You can make $30,000 a year. You can make $130,000 a year. Sometimes stuff happens, and sometimes that stuff is completely out of your control, whatever it may be, and you need help. You know, and you should be able to rely on your community, your city, to help you out when you absolutely need it, regardless of your income on paper, regardless of it. You know, I've been through, for example, when my youngest son was born, he spent a lot of time in the hospital. Of course, we went out to the London Victoria Hospital out in London, Ontario. Even though we lived in Hamilton, we couldn't get what we needed here. And we made really good money at the time. This is going back almost 15 years now, and we made really good money at the time. And I came home and I couldn't afford to pay my hydro bill, and hydro wasn't expensive as what it is now, that's for sure, and nobody could help me out. The city couldn't help me out, nobody could help me out, because we made this much income on paper, you know, and we didn't have family or anything to help us out at the time that way. But yet we still had to struggle with making sure we had gas to get my son out there, accommodations out there for myself and my son at times when the Ronald McDonald House was full, you know, when he wasn't actually in the hospital, which was rare, but it happened. Most of the time he spent most of his time in the hospital, and I just sit in the rocking chair beside his little crib there, and that's where I'd spend my day and my night, is in his little rocking chair. But then with food costs and everything else, and but we couldn't afford it anymore, and it drowned us, you know. And those are special circumstances, and your city and your community should be able to help you out with that, regardless of income on paper. I know what it feels like. And then I know what it feels like to have my cup so overflowing that I can't help but give back to my community, because I have to. You know, it's one thing to you can't take from people. You can't take from people when your cup overfills. You can't. You have to give back when it overfills, and I feel very strongly about that. So.
Sure. Yeah, very good. So how do you feel your life experiences will benefit you and the community if you are the successful candidate for mayor?
When I'm the successful candidate?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. I'm a real person. I know what it's like to physically work at various jobs. I know what it's like to have to live paycheck to paycheck on numerous occasions. I know what it's like to, you know, have that extra money sometimes. And I think that's a big stepping stone to being able to relate to the actual citizens of Hamilton and to actually fight for them at City Hall and provincially when you have to deal with the provincial governments as well.
So not forgetting where you came from.
Not forgetting where I came from, that's the thing.
And taking that forward into the
exactly,
council.
because the moment I forget is the moment that I need to be voted out. And that's the way it should be. With councillors and with mayor. The moment they forget, and in some cases they don't even know what it's like. I didn't come from money, I didn't come from anything rich and glorious or anything. And with a lot of them that have, or have always been in politics, and they don't know what it's like, you know, outside of a teenage job, which is totally different than an adult working job and having to fend for yourself. The instant you forget what it's like to be the little person is the instant you need to change jobs.
So you have young children in school still, I take it?
I do.
And with a lot of the schools closing in Hamilton, has that affected you personally or people that you know?
Yep.
And how would you, how do you see that?
I hate it. I think they're totally wrong in their thinking. I think they're ravaging our communities. I think we need to get the provincial government to step in and stop them from doing this. I think we should have had councillors and the mayor on board months ago, to try to not that they can do anything on the municipal level, they can't stop it from happening, but they should have been trying to get in and say, hey, you know, we need to bring this back to the table and talk about it and actually listen to what the people are having to say, because ultimately you as trustee have been voted in by these people, therefore they are your employers, so you should listen to them, even if you think that what you're doing is best because it might be saving a buck or two. If that's not what the people want, if they don't want to save a buck or two, you should not make them save a buck or two that way. You know, it's ruining our communities. They're not, you know, everybody wants walkable communities. Everybody wants this. Everybody. How is having a high school or elementary school, in the cases where they're starting as well, or where they have started, that is going to be so far out of reach for the majority of people that they have to bus it in or get driven in? How is that making it walkable? How is that healthier for anybody, right? My children right now, they can walk to the schools that they attend. My son's in high school right now. My daughter will be starting high school next year, and then they have the 3 younger ones, which aren't affected at the moment. Once they close down their high school and reopen up this new one that they're supposed to be doing, which is in 2016, like next year will be the last running for their high school, they won't be able to walk anymore. They will not be able to walk to school or home from school anymore because it's going to be too far away, which means now the house values in my area go down, and it affects my area, and I live in a nice area, and it means that I have to either, you know, drive them in or let them take public transportation, whether it be through a school bus or a city bus, and generally at the high school level it's a city bus, right? I don't think that's a good thing, because I like my children being able to physically walk to school or bike to school.
It's a little more time consuming to have to take and wait for a bus, so they have to get up earlier and they get home later. That's
one thing that my son has overtly expressed as well. He doesn't want to get up earlier because of a, well, silly school bus, right? Yes, he doesn't want to get up earlier because of that. My daughter doesn't want to either. They're teenagers. They say, I want to sleep in for as long as they can sleep in, not have to get in because of transportation issues now. And walking is good for them. It takes my son a good 20 minutes to walk to school now, same with my daughter. And so it's 40 minutes a day that I know that my children have to walk, and that's a good thing to help keep them physically active and understand that they do have 2 feet and a heartbeat, use them. So
what are the things you see that we can improve on in this great city that we live in? I've only been here, by the way, for 2 years.
Oh, that's it, eh?
Yeah, and I came in with the, excuse me, I came in with the stigma of the armpit mentality.
See? Yeah.
I'm not one to judge on what people say, typically, but it does go in and it does kind of sit and resonate in people's minds. And I'm really pleased to say that, and I've said this before, the people here are real people.
They are. Yes.
They're just grassroots, down-to-earth, real people. There's not a lot of pretense. I've lived in a number of cities and enjoyed them all. But coming in here, I was quite humbled and almost ashamed of myself in some ways for having a little bit of a bias allowed to be set into my head. But the people have taken it away really quickly.
We do. Once you get here, we take it away very quickly. And we need to change that image, because we have fantastic people in Hamilton.
What a great opportunity this city has with all the waterfalls, with the waterfront. I mean, we have some industry, which has created some revenue, and that's getting streamlined. There's tremendous amount of work being done right now by the government on restricting waste. There's actually waste cops that monitor these guys, and they've forced them to spend, I believe, like $45 million per company, and I forget what the numbers are, but I was talking to one gentleman, and I was quite pleased to see that they're going to stop polluting that harbor. I mean, it's the harbor front is a great tourist attraction.
It is. Which we have many of them. It's letting people know that we're worthwhile to come to, and that we do have many attractions. So we need to revamp on how we are promoting these attractions, though, because we're doing it all wrong. We're gearing it towards usually an older generation. You know, when we want to gear it towards younger generations now and families, we want to gear it to all generations. I should take that back. We want to gear it to all generations. But if you want people to constantly return back, you've got to start gearing it to the younger ones as well. I mean, we're around too. We are here too, and we love to tour, and we love to do little things that are cost effective, where we can take our families to and we can afford them at the end of the day. You know, my children and I and my husband, we walk the trails all the time in Hamilton because they're beautiful. We have a lot to offer there, you know, but they're hard to find unless if you're right downtown Hamilton and you're looking through all the pamphlets and the brochures that they have available there. You don't find them throughout the rest of the city very easily or readily available. And there's a lot of families that would like to know about these, both in Hamilton and outside of Hamilton. Go out and enjoy them. Let's draw them in different ways. Let's do some more family-friendly things in Hamilton. Right now, currently, you have the movies as an option, and you have bowling alleys as an option. You have what?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
True enough.
Right? And
Yeah.
myself as a parent and raising children in Hamilton, I would like more options for me to be able to do with my children as a family that are cost effective and efficient and we can have fun at. Or in cases of my children that are older and can go out and do things on their own, where do they get to go? You know, they're not going to go bowling all the time. We do it as a family once in a while, but even then we use WagJag because it's cost efficient, right?
Sure.
And when you're paying for, the youngest doesn't, he's free. So, but when you're paying for 6 out of 7 of his, you know, it gets very costly. So we want things that we can do. So what is it that we can do and bring people in? They want to do through Piers 5 through 8, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, but what they want to do down there. I think it's a ridiculous thing that they want to do down there. You know, instead of going down and building condos and thinking that this is going to change that image, which it's not, because you have to generate the neighborhood as a whole, not just this one little section, and think that you're going to get all these business people to come move down there and spend lots of money just because you've decided to build brand new condos down there. Instead of doing that, I think they should make that a whole new family-friendly area to start attracting local residents first and then tourists in and start building up that whole area from the ground up.
Integrate it with all those facilities, right?
Exactly. Instead of just isolating this one little section and thinking everybody's going to be like, oh, look it, we're all going to go there now. And guarantee you're still going to have 3/4 of residents of Hamilton staying away from the North End because they're going to have zero interest in going down to see brand new condos with a little bit of grassland, right? And we can get that anywhere, really. With our heritage buildings, as beautiful as some of them are, and we should preserve some of them, not everything is heritage in Hamilton, we should be tearing those down and building those into condos, start building up instead of out, quit with so much of the urban sprawl, and start saying, you know, this is old, it's no longer effective, it's going to cost us too much money to declare it as heritage, so let's get rid of it and let's start building up. And you know, that is right in the downtown core. You're going to have more people want to go in and move in down there because then they have the beautiful condos, they have all the storefronts. We can have a very vibrant downtown if we stop declaring everything we look at as heritage, you know. And some of it is beautiful and some of it should be preserved and kept, but not all of it. We need to let some things go and let the newer generation come in and say, this is what we want. As beautiful as it is, we will respect this, we will respect that. But if you want us to come in and start spending our dollars down there too, you have to you have to let us think too.
Yeah, I know on top of the mountain, and they didn't, there's an older school, and I'm not sure exactly what area it was in, but my wife and I were out walking, and I saw that they left the front facade only of the entrance of the school there and created a park around it. You might know, people in the area will know what I'm talking about. It's up off of, in the Gage, between Gage and Sherman. It's in that little area. And I'm looking at it, it's almost like a little monument there as a testament to the school that was there, because the architecture of that archway and everything is beautiful. And then there's a park, so there's just this little gateway kind of thing into it.
Yes,
so
I can't remember the name of the school that you're talking about. I apologize.
But you do know what I'm talking about, right?
I do know what you're talking about.
And I mean, those are the kind of things that we can take the dangerous buildings down, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Exactly, and you're
leave those things
incorporating, you're preserving, and you're saying we respect the heritage. We understand that we have a whole generation in Hamilton that really doesn't want to let go some of their childhood, I guess, right? And we are sensitive to that, and we will be sensitive to that. But it's you know, it's okay to tear down, incorporate what we can, build new where we have to, and go from there, because that's how we're going to build up our city. Not saving everything because it's old, because you can't.
No,
Yeah.
Sure. So listen, in closing, what would you like the community to know about you and what you have to offer as mayor of Hamilton?
As Missy, I like this.
I learned my lesson the last time I didn't say that you were there.
You're a fast learner, right? I'd like them to know that I'm going to be a mayor for the people. So if I'm wrong in anything that I think I'm hearing from people, they would have to let me know, because absolutely I will fight for what the majority of people want in Hamilton. I believe that what I have to say is what the majority of people want. And I believe that I can be a strong, effective mayor if given the opportunity. I think politics needs to change in Hamilton, because currently we do things backwards. And we know, ask anybody outside of Hamilton, any politician outside of Hamilton will tell you we do things backwards. And I've talked to many outside of Hamilton now. So we need to revamp how we do things in Hamilton and at City Hall. We need to get a strong leader, me, in the position of mayor, to turn around and let the councillors know you need to get out there and do your job, or we need to go back to the constituents and say, do you really want this person running your ward anymore? Because if not, then maybe we need to oust them and get somebody new in, because your job should not be protected for 4 years just because, you know, you got voted in. It doesn't mean you get to sit on your ass for the next, whatever. You get to sit on your butt for the next 4 years and do nothing and cater to your own agenda, when the agenda you should only be catering to is the people that are in your ward, plain and simple. So that's what I'd like to.
Yeah, well, that's great, Crystal. I really appreciate you responding and coming in and having a conversation with me. And I look forward to another. If you're interested in doing, let me know.
Absolutely.
And you're always welcome at my table.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us. Catch the bug.